Bring in David Tafuri, former State Department official and international lawyer, to join us as well. David, it's always good to have you. What do you make of that breaking news, from Joe just there? Iran saying they struck a U.S. ship, CENTCOM coming forward and saying, no, absolutely not true. No U.S. Navy ships have been struck, and they're supporting Project Freedom and enforcing the naval blockade on Iranian ports. What do you make of all this back and forth and where this new project puts us in the war this morning?
Well, first of all, I agree with Joe. We have to be skeptical of anything Iran says, especially if it's something positive for Iran to make Iran look good, because oftentimes the Iranian regime is lying to the media, lying to its people, trying to show a strong presence in the Strait of Hormuz. But it does seem like this ceasefire, which has been extended many times and lasted almost a month, is about to be broken. And it is because the U.S. is tired of the Strait of Hormuz being closed, and there seems to be no other solution other than for the U.S. now to try to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is saying that's a major provocation. They believe it's a violation of the ceasefire, and I think we can expect that Iran may do something about it. Even if they didn't fire missiles at U.S. ships yet, they probably can and will do so, or will attempt to do so. So we seem to be on the verge of an escalation. There's so much to unpack here with this Project Freedom, and now the United States helping all these hundreds, if not thousands, of neutral and innocent ships, navigate the strait. One of my main questions, David, this morning is, why didn't we do this sooner? Why did we wait till now? Well, because it's very risky. I mean, it puts our naval ships at risk. And remember, this is asymmetric warfare that Iran is going to conduct. So they're going to attack ships that are very valuable, that are very capable and effective, with small weapons like seaborne drones, like airborne drones, like mines that they've laid. And so it costs very little for Iran to do those things, but it could cost us a substantial amount in terms of lives and in terms of the amount of money we've invested in our naval ships if they are successful.
Yeah, Joe, let me just elaborate on what David was laying out there. I know Iran's top military advisor just wrote on X today, his words here: the only pirate in the world that possesses aircraft carriers, is the United States, and warned of a graveyard of American vessels. What's the read from your regional sources there in the area on whether or not Iran is going to let these ships pass through, or if they're going to test the United States in this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question right now. Based on just the rhetoric, Iran clearly is trying to draw a line in the sand here that any U.S. navigation through the strait is a violation that is to be met with Iranian military responses. But again, oftentimes what we see from the Iranians is bluster, is threats, is sort of trying to stake out a kind of a maximalist position on the threats and sort of use that as leverage. And we've seen the United States, frankly, do the same thing in this very conflict along the strait. I think to the question of why hasn't this been done earlier, it is obviously dangerous, but also it seems like both sides have wanted to give diplomacy a chance, even behind the scenes, as the threats are coming back and forth. I think it is entirely possible that if the U.S. does move forward with these operations, that you do see a military response from the Iranians, simply because, in their view, a lot of these measures are just face-saving for them, for their own domestic audiences.
David, do you think that Iran is going to use Project Freedom as a justification to resume hostilities and strikes?
I think they very well might. I agree with Joe that oftentimes they are bluffing, and they are a bit of a paper tiger. They're not as strong as they claim to be. However, you have to think about the fact that closing the Strait of Hormuz is the main leverage that Iran has, both against the U.S. and against the rest of the world. That's the one thing they have as a bargaining chip. And reopening the Strait of Hormuz is something the U.S. will give something for. So they have to show that they can keep it closed, even with Project Freedom going forward. That's why I think they probably will do some sort of attack, but I think it will be more asymmetric. They're not going to put their main forces at risk. They're going to use seaborne drones or airborne drones or mines and hopefully hit a U.S. naval ship from their perspective. Hopefully, from our perspective, they aren't going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, the stakes are certainly high. We'll see how today plays out. I have to end it there, but David Tafuri, thank you as always, sir. And Joe, I'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Appreciate it.
Thank you.